Yet on the YouTube side. This is what's been happening. So I'll be patient here. At least I'll try to be patient. It's not easy for me. Oh, it's connecting. Here we go. Going live. Blank screen again. Give it about 5 seconds. Come on, YouTube. Come on, PooTube. Nothing yet. Yeah, this is what it was doing yesterday. Here we go. Here we go. It's going live. Folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris once again. Hello, folks, and welcome back to Chris Wyatt Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network, as part of our ongoing coverage of South Africa's 2021 municipal elections, the elections which the Constitutional Court had to have a hearing to ensure it went forward. You know, the Independent Electoral Commission and the African National Congress colluded to prevent these elections from taking place in direct violation of South Africa's majority rule constitution from the late 1990s. Despite their effort to collude and claim that it was unsafe to hold an election, it couldn't be free and fair. It'd be the fourth wave. It's impossible. We can't do it. Central African Republic holds an election in the midst of a failed country, in the midst of this. Namibia holds an election in which the ruling SWAPO party has handed its hat in the municipalities. Does the ANC see the same thing happening to them? In the midst of all this, 115 countries around the world holding elections. I myself have voted 3 times in elections in the midst of this, successfully, without catching the bug, maintaining proper hygiene and taking care of myself. But the ANC and the Independent Electoral Commission claim that it's not safe to hold free and fair elections. So guess what? That's not the decision of the Constitutional Court. There will be elections in South Africa on the 1st of November. And I'm here to welcome in today my special featured guest. Now, as my first ward candidate in South Africa, I've talked to heads of parties. I've talked to mayoral candidates like Lennox Max in Cape Town, the mother city. And I've talked to analysts about this election. This is my first ward councillor. And it's because he's running for the office, but he also has a very interesting backstory. We're going to talk a lot about that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome my guest today, a sportsman, a patriotic South African, a devoted father, Michael Kliment. Michael, how are you doing?
Good evening. Kani. And how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well, and it's a pleasure to have you on today. Before we get into your backstory, let's just talk about politics up front, okay? Because you're running for office. Let's get that off the table. So you are running in Nelson Mandela Bay, and you're running in Ward 2, which is it's one of the better off, or is I think it's fair to say, more affluent parts of Nelson Mandela Bay. You're a business owner, and you decided to run for office. And I think one of your opponents is someone that most of my viewers know, none other than Renaldo. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. It's also a friend of mine, too.
Well, we won't tell anybody that. So you were running for the Patriotic Alliance, a rather small party, not particularly well known in South Africa. Any particular reason why you're standing for that party, or why you decided to run under that banner?
Well, there's a few things that caught my eye. The fact that they want equal employment opportunities, which I'm very strongly for. And then the one thing that really caught my eye was the fact that they would like to bring religion back into the schools. Yes, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but you've got Christians, you've got Muslims, you've got Jews, you've got Hindu. It can be done. I grew up with Scripture Union every week. I think it was a Monday morning for half an hour. Teacher would come in, teach you the scriptures, we'd sing maybe a poem or a verse, and that's it. And I just feel that the family values are missing in this country. And religion is quite important in everybody's day. If you look at the crime that's happening here, the corruption and everything. And I believe that if we taught the principles of religion up front at a young age, maybe not all crime will end, but I'm sure people will think twice about it. For instance, murder. If you've been taught from a young age, thou shalt not kill, I'm sure that will sit in the back of your mind. And that, how many times I get angry at somebody. You want to throttle them. But in the back of your mind, it says, no, there's a higher being out there. And one of the rules state, no, thou shalt not kill. Then also, yes, it is a small party, but it's growing at an exponential pace. And I also liked, a lot of people don't like Councillor or Leader Marlon Daniels. He's our national chair now. But I like the way he fights for his people. And he was known as a flip-flopper, but I've seen the documentation that he showed me. I've listened to the voice notes that he's given me. And when you get promised something from the coalition partners, and when the date comes for them to, do that, they put in their own person in there because it's such an important post in the municipality that they want to run it. I'd also turn around and say, sorry, you made promises. I can't stick with people who don't keep their promises, because how do you trust a person like that? So, yes, flip-flopper, no flip-flopper, people in mind, and that's what's most important. Now, Patriotic Alliance really stood out to me in that way. I'm also, like you say, patriot, and I like the name as well, Patriotic Alliance. We're going for it. And when I met the people, the different leaders, the different candidate councillors, and they took me in like I was one of their friends for the past 20 years. I feel so comfortable. This morning I was in a motorcade campaigning in the northern areas, and I really, really had a lot of fun. The people are all down to earth. Yes, we've got hierarchy, we've got protocols that we've got to follow. You can't joke with the high leaders or so, but they are so down to earth, so comfortable, and the principles, I'll just read you some of the stuff that the Patriotic Alliance are going for. Firstly, the most important in my mind, restoring godly principles, especially at schools. No open borders. Now, I know America has the same problems, too many open borders. So close it down and allow only people, registered people to come in, visas, proper tours. Our borders at the moment are so open. We have immigrants taking locals' work, jobs. That's why we've got such a big unemployment rate. Equal job opportunities. That is a big thing, especially in the industry that I'm in. No undocumented immigrants. There we go again. Accessible and quality healthcare. Very important, especially during this pandemic time. A lot of people out there, and I see it in my factory. I'm lucky. I'll call myself privileged. I have medical aid. So when I have a problem, I go see a doctor. It takes me maybe 2 hours. I'm back at work. Some of my workers don't have medical aids. They've got to go to a clinic where they sit 4 or 5 hours just to be seen. Then they sit another 2 or 3 hours just to get medicine. So it's just not a service delivery. Very important. At the moment, Port Elizabeth or Nelson Mandela Bay, service delivery has gone down the tubes, and I'm not the only one. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are complaining. Potholes, pipes bursting, lights, some lights working, some not. They're blaming vandalism. I can understand that, but if they break the cable, steal the cables once, I can understand. If they steal it a second time and third time, what safety protocols have you placed there? Equal tender allocations, and of course, dignified housing. And let me tell you, today's motorcade opened my eyes to see the difference, in one suburb, it's a northern suburbs, I think it was Galvandale, yes, where we went up one stretch of the suburb, beautiful houses, lovely gardens, and right next to them in the same suburb, you could see a complete change in the income bracket. Some people living in nearly cardboard boxes with a aluminium roof on sheeting on top with bricks lying on it, and 4 or 5 kids running out of there. And to me, that is not. We're 27 years in a free democracy, and unemployment has increased. The way of living is expensive. Yes, COVID has hit us, things have gone higher, but prior to that, it's not fun living, if I can say that. It's hardship taking your kids to school because schools are not cheap. It's hardship putting food on the table because, I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if you know lamb chops, 4 little lamb chops. About 18 months ago would cost you 49 Rand. You go to the shop, that same 4 little lamb chops is 195 Rand. Yep. Filling up my car, for instance, like I've got a BMW, costs me about 1,100 Rand a tank. Who normal lower class income, how do they afford that?
They don't.
If they can't afford to fill their petrol, their cars, then they need transport. Where's the transport? There's no public transport. It's not safe. Europe, for instance, in Paris, you don't need a car. You've got tubes, you've got taxis, cheap taxis, you've got buses, underground. And South Africa has this potential to become a world leader. Yes, in the past it was apartheid. I understand it was a big wrong, but the way the country was self-sufficient those days. You remember, we were sanctioned like all the other countries. We produced our own oils. We produced our own gas. We didn't need the world. We could survive without the rest of the world. Now, why can't we bring that back in a modern democracy with freedom? And it just takes people. I wouldn't say like myself, but I'm passionate. I'm a perfectionist. You tell me now, do something, I do it. I don't wait. That's the way I work at work as well. My father gives me a command to do something, it gets done. A lot of times my secretary tells me, you do about 2 days work in 4 hours. It's just, to me, I just want to do it. I just want to get things done. Like, for instance, there's potholes on the road. I've informed our councillor, there's potholes. They're not being fixed, but they're quick to point fingers. No more pointing fingers. Be a strong councillor, fight for your people and serve your people. I'm ready to take a salary cut to serve my people. And that's what I want to do. And I want to also leave a legacy, for my grandchildren and my children to remember.
Absolutely. A quick question. Do you have another light you can turn on? It's the lights, part of your face is being a little obscured. I don't know if you have another light, or is that all the lighting?
You might have to sit maybe on the ground.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Let me see if that's better. Now you're actually, that's better. Yeah, let's go with that. That's okay. Thank you for moving. All right, so a couple things to unpack there. I'll give you an opportunity. I almost like to launch a manifesto there. It did start because it was passionate. But let me a couple things. First, we need to talk about municipal competencies. That's part of it, I think. But, you talk about South Africa being self-sufficient during the apartheid era. That's true. But it can't be self-sufficient anymore. The ANC has sold its soul to the Chinese Communist Party. For instance, 20 years ago, 90% of all textiles sold in South Africa were manufactured in South Africa. Today, that figure is less than 25% or 25, 30%. And you go back, most shoes, 70% of shoes sold in South Africa were manufactured in South Africa. Today, that's 10%. So getting that back is going to be difficult because South Africa has a notoriously inefficient workforce by comparison to like East Asia and North America and Europe. Low productivity rates, unfortunately. Now, that's not across the entire workforce. It's very, some industries and some it's very high, others it's very low for a number of reasons. So that's going to be a challenge. Plus, the ANC has given the Chinese exclusive industrial parks with no taxation, no questions asked. So it's going to be a long road to get South Africa back to self-sufficiency. So for now, South Africa is part of the global economy and probably will be for the foreseeable future. That doesn't mean things can't change a bit. And then the second thing is that I hear you when you say that excuses. The ANC, and they're not the only culprits, but the ANC has ruled for nearly 3 decades. And there are millions more people living in those cardboard and aluminum shacks that you're talking about than ever lived under apartheid. Now, of course, there's been population growth, but there's also been unconstrained mass migration. Over 5 million illegal aliens are currently in South Africa, most likely. And I don't think they have a real grasp on the figure. All of this creates conditions. We see people living in informal settlements as quickly as private developers or the government, which is not the right answer, can build houses. More people need houses. And there's always a backlog. As far as the passion you bring to this, Michael, it's fascinating. I love to see it. For municipal services, the things you're talking about, those are things that people are upset about. Potholes, sewage in the streets, water, non-existent, no electricity. And people that don't suffer through this, that don't deal with it outside South Africa, really don't appreciate what we're talking about. If you don't have power for 12 hours, the food in your fridge will spoil. Your freezer will defrost. If you are a clinic in a rural area that doesn't have electricity, all of the vaccination and the medicines that need refrigeration will spoil, and you can't treat people. And this is the knock-on effect, and this is the cost that drives up the cost, plus the violent crime. You have to have security guards everywhere. South Africa has 650,000 private security guards for a country of 59 million people. That's an astronomically high figure, and it's not enough, frankly. It's not enough. And so all of these things really have an impact. But for the municipality, What are some of the things that you hope to do or you could do, you think, if you wind up on the council there in Nelson Mandela Bay?
Well, firstly, get everything done at a much faster pace than what it's done at the moment. Get the right people in. They're saying, I'm still a bit new in the politics, okay? So there might be a few things that I might say that could be out of order. But why do we hire an outside company to cut grass? Why must we sign contracts with people to fix this or to put lights on? In the olden days, the municipality hired their own people. They had their own employment to go and fix potholes, to fix the burst pipes. Why are we hiring people? Now, there's another example, and I'm sure my motorist friends are going to be a little bit angry with me, but we haven't had cameras, the speed cameras, for about, 2 years nearly? I could be lying, it could be less than that, because they haven't signed a contract with someone. Now, what is our traffic department about? Are they just there to drive around? Now we have the president here in town, and now all of a sudden I see traffic officials all over. But before them and after that, you don't see them. When there's an Iron Man here, you see traffic officials. So for me, firstly, safety and security, number one. More police visibility. So we'll stop all this vandalism and we create employment. So Nelson Mandela Bay has its own metro police. So why don't we employ more people in that? Capable people, not just anybody, capable people, because I've seen some photos of some people becoming policemen and army as well, army soldiers. If they were in my army, I'd probably surrender very, very fast, because you're supposed to look like somebody. You understand? Army's supposed to be fit. Police people are supposed to be fit. I don't want to say it, but I can run away from the 80% of the police. I will never be able to run a kilometer behind me.
They can't catch you. They'll be gassed. They'll be gassed after 50 meters.
Exactly. So my number one priority: visibility. Visibility. You should have. If you go to New York, every corner there's a policeman, and he's friendly. So if you have a problem, like a tourist comes, now my ward is very, it's probably how can I say the right word? A lot of good finance come into the municipality because of my ward, because of the beachfronts that we have, the 5-star hotels that we have. A lot of functions happen here, Ironman, triathlon.
So it's a net revenue generator for the city.
Exactly.
Ward. Yeah.
Now, we've got potholes. We have vandalism. We have people getting mugged, stabbed. There was a car guard that got stabbed about a year ago, just about 300 meters from me. Where is the visibility? 24/7 visibility. Not 6 o'clock evening come, you clock out and go home and no one is there. Yes, we've got 650,000 security officials, security companies. They are doing the policeman's work. It shouldn't be that. They should be supporting and helping the police when the police need help, not vice versa. That's number one, police safety and security. Then another thing in my mind is the youth. Now we've got a huge drug problem in this, gangsterism, drugs, alcohol in this country and in Nelson Mandela Bay, especially in the more poorer areas. And in my mind, sport can be used to take them off the street. Now, my family are originally from Czechoslovakia. My parents left Czechoslovakia in 1969 when the Bulgarian tanks under Soviet Union came in and officially declared, the Iron Curtain.
During the Prague Spring.
Exactly, yeah. Now, what my dad says, one of the few things that was very good in communism was the fact that they would identify sportsmen and women at a very young age. They had specialized schoolings for sport. So you have a soccer school and you have scouts going around looking, there's a 6-year-old that can kick that ball, is beautiful. That's talented. Cricket, rugby, karate, hockey. Build more facilities and start taking the kids out of the road. South Africa is a sports mad country, firstly.
Well, we saw that. Yes, we saw that yesterday in Gold Coast in Australia.
We saw that, and we should have won last week's one too.
Absolutely,
but,
absolutely.
The tactics were wrong, but it's learning curves. I always say, if you want to become a true champion, you must learn to lose as well. So it's important to realize we need to bring these kids off the roads, off drugs, off cigarettes, off alcohol, and then thirdly, more community-based. If you go to the higher class areas, you don't see kids on the roads. More in the poor areas. Let's base it more community stuff. Not just have a concert here. Have something there. Bring it out. What is good in Westring? What is good in North End? What is good in the Walmer? Bring that out and bring people there and enrich the people inside that suburb. And then another thing I forgot, family values. I might be grilled for this. I'm very much for women going into industry and starting to work and that. My big problem is who looks after the kids when the father and now the mother has to work. Now, another thing my dad taught me was in communist Czechoslovakia, they had systems in place to look after the kids when the parents were, even at a baby age. So even before preschool, they would look after your kids. Preschool, then primary school, and then, So the family values are also being lost because both parents have to work and they both come home at 6. The discipline is not right. Your kids have been running around in the street. They haven't studied. They've been up to nonsense. So bring back the family values. So if it can't be done by government then support business to do that. Where, for instance, my late wife, if she was working and I was born, wherever she was working, maybe that the place of employment would have a small creche looking after the kids, because we're taking out that. I don't want to say a mother belongs at home. No, the olden days it was that way. I remember growing up, coming home from school, knowing my mom is there. Mom is there. I need advice. Mom is there. Mom cooked. Mom helped. She helped me with homework. When I was very, very small, she even would offer to go beat up the bullies. But before I started karate. It's just that the family values are also missing, and we need to push that. And then from my side, I think I can do a better job than the current councillor at a faster pace. Okay. I'm not saying he's not doing a good job. Don't get me wrong. But I think I can do it at a faster pace. I think some residents here cannot wait, especially now that we have water shortage. Our dams are so low and down. Any form of a leak must be stopped immediately, because that's precious water that we're losing. And it's just not done fast enough. Who's going to pay for the damage on my vehicle or other people's vehicles because of the potholes, because of the broken lights? Some of these lights flash on the road. Yep. So how does the person with asthma drive there? Or epilepsy. Yeah, how do they drive there? It's just, everything is just backwards, if I can say it that way. I might insult a few people.
No, I don't think you're insulting anybody. Yep.
Backwards. It's just backwards.
Yeah, and
we're not going forward. We're going backwards.
No, South Africa definitely going backwards.
I'll hit my head on the wall. But if you look at Nelson Mandela Bay 5 years ago compared to now, you can see a major change for the worse. It used to be a super clean city. We were known as probably, I'm sure you've heard it, the armpit of South Africa.
Well, I was going to say that you mentioned 5-star hotels in your award, but I'm going to have to check out these 5-star hotels next time in South Africa, because I've never been to PE. Because Gareth Cliff has told us that PE is the armpit of South Africa.
But you know why he says that? We are supposed to be a very laid back city. Uh-huh. It's more a family city. I used to brag when going overseas to visit my family in Slovakia or friends in Canada or in England. that Port Elizabeth is family orientated. You want to start a family, you start it in PE, because Joburg is hustle and bustle, Cape Town is hustle and bustle, Durban the same. PE is more, if you look outside on the beachfront, they're pushing the prams. It's a laid back city. And it's lost that. It's lost that joie de vivre, if I can say that.
Yeah. It's also kind of a really an industrial town as such, isn't it? With a lot of manufacturing there.
Yeah. We were also known at one stage for motor time. We used to have
blue collar is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we used to have General Motors here, Volkswagen, Ford. It's still there, but in a very much smaller capacity now, because my business supplies parts to these OEMs.
All right. Well, let me deal with some of the comments in the chat from viewers and then throw a few things there. Folks, you're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network. It's a Sunday stream. The 3rd of October, German Unification Day. Well, most of Germany, not Silesia, Pomerania, or East Prussia, Schlesien, Pommern, Ostpreußen, remain outside of Germany. But Unification Day is celebrated because that's when, after the wall came down, the former German Democratic Republic, the ehemaligen DDR, and West Germany, the Federal Republic, merged, and that's the date. So 30 years later, 30 years to the day, folks. 30 years to the day, this is when it happened. But you're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa, and my guest today is Michael Kliment, who is a candidate for ward councillor in Nelson Mandela Bay's 2nd Ward. Well, let me get to some of the comments here. So, Lazan, he used to live there. She's a refugee from Port Elizabeth, maybe because of potholes. She said, have you ever gone to the traffic department? There's a bunch of them sleeping in the sun or on the grass en masse, which goes back to Michael's comment about why are we hiring companies to do it when they've got people there already? Good question. Good comment there. And Cheryl Dex says, our traffic department are arresting vendors selling pet bedding and curbside cabbage bandits. Lazan cautions Michael that the police are very friendly in PE as long as you know the rules. Now, John Jarvis says, does this guy not know that as counselor he does not control the police? I'm pretty sure he knows that, John. And I think if folks give an opportunity and listen to what he's saying, he elaborate on the point, and Michael, if I get this wrong, you tell me I missed it, but you elaborate on the point about police and control by talking about family values and about responsibility for families and about getting kids engaged in activities that keep them off the streets. All of that, I believe your point was, that contributes to reducing crime. You're not talking about controlling the police. SAPS is a national competency. Metro Police is a different story. But so I think I got that right. That's where you were going, yes, with that?
Exactly. But as counselor, we can put pressure on them.
You can what?
Yeah, we got a slide. I see a comment here, people are just up for power. Well, that power, if you use it in the correct way, can happen, can make things happen. Because as a councillor, you start to meet people. You start to meet the high wigs of industry, including police force, including the army, including other parties. In my case, I'm not up for the power. I'm not up for a salary. I'm going to take a decrease in the salary if I make it. I've had a lot of power in my life already in past ventures. I was a vice chairman of World Karate. I was a chairman of a local hockey club. Took them from the bottom doldrums to a positive bank balance, plus doubled the affiliation, became Club of the Year in Eastern Province. So I know what I'm talking about. For me, it's not about power. For me, it's about doing something and making a difference. I've always said to myself, one day when I die, will anyone ever remember Michael Kliment? And that's what I want to do is I want to make a difference. And like some of the comments say, well, maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. I learn. I'm a fast learner. I'm still new in the game. So I'm a bambino, if we can call it that in the politics. But I'm a fast learner and I don't take nonsense. I really don't take nonsense. If you give me something to do, I do it. If there's something that we have to do for the people, I do it. If we have to then go speak to the South African Police Service and ask them for more visible policing, I'll do it. There's another example I must say, and it was brought up to me. I haven't brought it up on Facebook yet, but there's a police station in Kabiga Park that has been closed down maybe 7-8 times because of COVID this year. And Have you seen the state of that police station? It's the sewage is leaking. They've got one bottle of hand sanitizer for everyone, which even the convicts, the inmates, have to use. The police have to use. Things are falling apart. There's mites everywhere. Now that's the municipalities. Isn't that the municipalities doing to fix that up for the police? Because we own the building. So in a way, we can do something to make it better for the police service, who then in turn will work better as well. Because for me, that's my old suburb where I grew up. That's Ward, I think it's Ward 4, if I'm not mistaken, Westrink, Bigger Park, Linton Grange. For me, I like to know what happens if there's a crime and that police station is closed. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Where is the police going to come and help? It's little things like that I want to make a change. And it's not about power. You need power to get there. And for me, like I've said, I've had many powers in my life. I'm CEO of my business. I don't need power. I enjoy what I do. I'm a people's person. I like to work and I like to listen. I like to listen and decide from there what's going on.
No, it's a good point. And I really, what you say, making a mark on the world, leaving something behind, a legacy, that's not really the way you phrase it, but that's the intent of what you're saying. I appreciate that. You know, people ask me, you know, about myself a lot, and I tell them that whatever good I do, or evil, I don't think I've ever done evil, but whatever good or evil I do, I can rest assured knowing that when I leave this earth, that because of my determination, I wrote an intelligence analytical report, which got to the desk of the President of the United States, and 640,000 people didn't starve to death because I pushed that report. No one else in the world was making that effort. And, you know, 640,000 people are alive today. Oh, not all of them. They probably some in the past, they were elderly. But 640,000 people and their descendants are alive today because of actions I took. So, I mean, and that's just one example. And it sounds to me like you're trying to do something like that. You're a successful businessman. You would take a pay cut by going into government if you're successful. So I think that's a good point. Now, Bobby B, who's the one said that parties just was out for power. He further elaborated on this point. Bobby B said that parties are out of power. Parties are out for power. There are good individuals like yourself, but the party structures of any system inevitably prioritize power over the good of the people. And that's why we all need more people like you, Michael. And so I can't agree more with that statement that Bobby B's put up there. That is one of the problems we have in America. This deep-seated permanent political class that want privilege, blue light escorts, exclusive salaries, ego-inflating appearances on MSNBC and Fox News and things like that. This is the biggest part of our problem. We have politicians in D.C. who are trying to spend $12 trillion in a single year. That's half our economy. And it's supposedly in a country that has, it's unbelievable. So I'm kind of with them. Now, I'm gonna shift a little bit and ask you a question. Let's make sure to miss anything here. Liaison saying, and by the way, that police station, that was one of the good police stations in PE a few years back. It was, yeah. So that's a good point there. But let me raise this question for you. Now, this is a bit of confusion part, or perhaps or naivete on my part. So when the 2016 elections took place and the DA got the plurality of the vote in Nelson Mandela Bay, 45% as I recall, they were just short by a couple councillors of taking control of the city. They had to go into coalition, and they went into coalition with partners who misbehaved, or at least their people in government misbehaved and wanted certain things, including, of course, a famous deputy mayor who's since passed away. So that coalition was under siege every day by the ANC that were angry that they had been unseated from a place they felt entitled to, the city named after Nelson Mandela. You know, they really were upset about that. So they did everything they could to undermine it. But the reporting I saw, now I've never been to Nelson Mandela Bay. I can trust what the media shows, the images and the reports and interviews and stuff like that. But the reporting I saw, that from the time the DA took over in 2016 until they lost control of the municipality for a while, that services actually had improved. And the DA certainly likes to crow about that. You're talking about things are worse now than they were 5 years ago. Has it been under the DA's watch, or did they actually make an improvement? I'm not trying to help the DA here. I'm just asking, was there an improvement, and has it gone backwards since then?
2016, I voted for the DA. I'll be honest with you. I voted for the DA. I wanted them to take over. I'm a staunch Ethel Trollip fan. And
it's just a full disclosure, as am I. I think he's an amazing mayor.
Yeah, I'm a full. We also friends. I've even got a photo with him and everything. He took power, and I think he was in power for about 2 years before the coalition fell apart. And yes, things were starting to look much better. The city started to clean up. Everything was done. But I'll tell you why. And a lot of people call Ethel Trollip very arrogant. There were certain things he did that people didn't like, and there were certain things he did that people liked. Sometimes you need to have, if I can call it, a dictator type of person take charge. I'll give you an example. My father, for instance, he was chairman of Eastern Province Karate for about 16 years. When he took over, there was a lot of, it was just in-house fighting. They didn't want this. There was a concerned group. There was this. My dad just put his fist down on the table and said, we're doing it this way, and we don't do it this way, and that. Finish. Goodbye. We ended up being one of the best provinces in the country. We were always in the top 3. Our teams were 80% of color and doing well. At one stage, we had 45 kids in a junior national team in one tournament. Sometimes you need to be a little bit bullish and say, nope, we said this way and it's only going this way, and that's it. Then he lost, Mr. Trollop then lost power. Now, he lost power because there were certain promises made that weren't kept from his side, and also the arrogance of, there's one thing that I always would like for him to change is the way he spoke to his opposition. You can also defame an opposition by speaking nicely. You know, there's a way of talking, but it was direct, no, bull, but, and people don't like that. You know, you've got to also know how to speak and how to handle the situation. Then our vice mayor became mayor, and it just went, may his soul rest in peace. I think he had power until the end of, I think, last year. Then the DA took over. But now DA has been in power. We are now in October. It's 10 months. They keep saying excuses, this and this and that. You've had 10 months to fix. There's a pothole that's been there for 6 months. I'll keep using the pothole as an example, but that's the easiest thing that everyone can see. No one can see a pipe burst. You only see it when somebody puts it on Facebook, or it's in the Herald, or it's in the news or so. You don't know there's a pipe bursting in Walmer. But you drive every day on the same road, and you have to swerve all the time because you don't want to damage your car. For instance, our highways. I've just bought a brand new BMW, a few months ago, a BMW. I've already got chip marks on my window because of all the stones on the road. It's not been resurfaced. It's not been cleaned. It takes an ordinary person to think about it and say, come on, let's clean up our city. Drive. What also caught me today in our motorcade driving, that how the poor areas are not clean. There are bags lying all over the show. There's rubble lying all over the show. There's rubbish. And you can see the residents put their bags on the side, waiting for the service delivery truck to come and pick it up. But it hasn't been coming. Why? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'd be lying if I answered. But did they hire someone else to do that? Did they not sign a contract? Did the coalition, the opposition party stop you? Why? Even if I can't, and I know there's a lot of red tape in politics, and I'm prepared to put my head on the block. I'm a type of guy that will probably do something before I even get approval from the top. Because for me, my main concern is my people, the people that live here, and not just the people that live in the ward, the whole municipality. Because what we do here is a domino effect of the whole of Port Elizabeth. Because if we can't attract tourists in Ward 2, our biggest income is tourism. Tourism, whether it's local, the people from Johannesburg, or coming in, like now in December, we have a lot of people that come, or international tourists. At the moment, we've got the Kusafa Women's Cup here in Port Elizabeth. How do these people from the other countries see our beautiful city crumbling, dirty, light poles on the road hanging like this?
Yep.
Or I must tell you, when I go into North End, just off the off-ramp, there was a car accident there, a vehicle accident about 4 weeks ago. It took about 3 of the light poles down. It took them about a week and a half to fix that. But the old poles, they've replaced the new poles with the new lights, the 3. But the old poles are still lying on the side. Why haven't they taken it away? It just baffles me.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I got you.
my daughter, clean up after yourself. It's a simple thing. Clean up. If you're going to dig a hole, and and actually on my road just behind us, they dug something, fixed a pipe. It's still there 2 months. It's still gravel on that piece. I actually have to swerve around it to go through because I don't want to drive on my car.
Well, and that, of course, presents another hazard in and of itself. I mean, people don't think about this. In South Africa, where carjackings are not uncommon and where people being shot at traffic lights or when cars are stopped is not uncommon, having potholes people have to slow down for really makes an obstacle. It's like a military channeling you in and making you vulnerable to thieves. It's all part of public safety, and people miss that. Yeah, so
it's absolutely dangerous.
So Bobby B commented once again. He said, "Thank you, Chris. I'd hate for your guest to think I was talking about him seeking power when I was saying we need people like him to disrupt the power structure. Much appreciated." Now, and that's why I brought the comment in, Bobby. Also, if you hadn't brought the comment in, my interpretation was that's what you're getting at. You weren't addressing the candidate here. You were saying that that's what politicians do. Now, I'm with you on that one, Bobby. Thanks for that. So let me ask you, or let me raise this topic here. Make sure I haven't missed something else here from the audience. Yep. So you talk about faith, and you're a person of faith. I had the United Independent Movement's president and vice president, and that's Deal De Beer and Fatima Abdul on the program yesterday, and is it yesterday? No, it was Friday. Excuse me, Friday. The days are running together, and I've had.
Was rugby.
Yeah, yesterday was I actually broadcast 3 rugby games plus my own programs yesterday, so I was pretty knackered last night. But so it was Friday. But they're also talking about faith being a big part of what's going on with their party. Now, the things you talk about, these are real challenges for South Africa. I mean, 2/3 of all children are born out of wedlock in South Africa, and you're talking about your parents, and creches and daycare for kids, which is certainly important, whether it's done by private industry or done otherwise. But when you have 2/3 of children born to single mothers, and oftentimes raised only by that single mother or an extended family, not by a father, you got a real problem. And by the way, I'm not throwing stones at South Africa. We've got the same problem in America. 78% of black children in this country and mixed race kids from black and white are born illegitimately. 45% of Hispanic children are born illegitimately. 25% of so-called white children are born illegitimately. And what was a figure less than 1% just 30 years ago, 9% of all Asian kids in this country are born illegitimately. So it's a problem the world over. It probably has a lot to do with the loss of influence of faith in people's lives, whether it's Islam, Judaism, or Christianity. It really isn't germane, or Hinduism or Buddhism. But people not having those values. You've kind of touched on that. Do you think that there's a chance that South Africa can come back from this? And what's the answer? Setting an example, talking about it, or is there another approach perhaps?
If you go around the braai with your mates, everyone says to you, "Oh, it's going to take 20 years to get South Africa back." I don't think so. It just takes a lot of hardworking people, a team. And then, for me, if I become councillor, I don't belong to my party anymore. I belong to the people. And that's the way we see it.
There you go.
If we look at that, all councillors are always DA, PA, ANC. You shouldn't be that anymore. Your resume is no longer Patriotic Alliance. Your resume is now Nelson Mandela Bay. You belong to the people. That's why it's called servant. You're a servant of the people. It's you touched it. It's faith. It's faith. And I was actually discussing this last night with my eldest daughter with regards to marriage and why people are getting divorced, why are kids born out of wedlock and all that. The word love has been used far too quickly in my mind, especially in the youth, far too quickly. I don't think kids know what love means. And it's to me, it's an affection. They want to love each other, and it's like, I need somebody. Now, what is the reason for I need somebody? Because there's no faith, there's no stability at home, there's no routine, there's no discipline. That's another thing. The discipline in school. Teachers don't have control over kids anymore. I used to be scared of my teacher. Yes, they gave us a hiding on the bum, and that's what made you worry. It didn't make anything different with me. I'm a stronger, better person, and I'm a strong believer in the jacking still. It says it in the Bible. If your child is naughty, give it a whack on the bum. I know that South Africa has a problem, mainly in the more lower income areas where they actually beat their kids. But if we had police serving, that type of thing would be deterred. I fear, when I go to Germany, I fear a lady policeman from Germany more than I fear the local policeman, because they just bring authority around it. Even though you can ask the lady, where is the next tram? And she'll answer you. But you still feel that, hey, I can't do anything wrong in front of her. Now, faith is very, very important. It teaches you everything about family values. It teaches you that there's a higher being out there. It teaches you also good and bad. Like yin-yang, you have good and bad. Now, if you're bad, where you going? Hell. If you're good, where you going? Heaven. So it's like I said, it's not going to be fixed tomorrow. But we can take baby steps. Like they say, you can't get to the top of the ladder by missing all the middle steps. You've got to start somewhere. And we've got to start on the first step and take it step by step. Find every single issue that is happening out there and converse with the public. I would say converse with the public and find out, what do you guys want first? What is important in Port Elizabeth? Or what do we want to improve Port Elizabeth? And engage with the public. From there, take it to the council and then drive it. Stop with the red tape. If there's problems, if we've got a water leakage, like now, for instance, our water leakage problems is the fact that our piping is decades and decades old. It hasn't been replaced. And that is the fault of the ANC, the previous government that was ruling here until 2016. That is the fault. I'm sorry. If you don't service your vehicle is going to stop working. It's the same thing with the city. If you don't service your piping, you don't service your electrical wires, you don't service certain things, it's going to fall apart. And that's what's happening now. It's starting to fall apart. Pipes are bursting. They fix a leak. 2 meters down the line, the same pipe bursts. 2 meters down the line, and that's what happened now. Half of Port Elizabeth for the past 2-3 days has been without lights because there was vandalism. People stole cables by a substation. Now, I've heard this already. Cable vandalism, cable theft, What have you put in place to stop that? What have you put in place to stop that? If somebody, I don't know how to say it. If my dog keeps running away by digging a hole under the fence, I'm going to make a system in place so that dog cannot dig under the fence anymore. Not just put sand over it again and leave it that way. The dog will dig again and dig again. So you've got to put things in place. And that, I feel, is not being done by the current people that are sitting in council. There might be one or two, but it needs to have a collective team to work together under an umbrella. And that umbrella is Nelson Mandela Bay City Council or municipality, not Patriotic Alliance, not the ANC, not the DA, not UDM or what other ACDP. Yes, I'm now a Patriotic Alliance member. Well, I'll always be a Patriotic Alliance member. But once I'm in government, I'm a government official that serves the people, and I must listen to my people and work for my people. I'm not the king. I'm a servant.
Well, you've hit that spot on. Let me address a couple things here. I've got a super chat from Brad I'll get to after I address this. But that resonates very well with me. That's the thing I find frustrating is that people get elected by political parties the world over and they're beholden to them. The problem with the ANC, the biggest problem with the ANC, other than their graft and their corruption, is their deployment of cadres. They send their loyal cadres who are loyal to Lutuli House, not to the people of South Africa or the people they represent. They, in fact, can't even, when ANC was doing that in the Western Cape, they sent people down who spoke Venda or spoke Siswati or spoke Zulu and couldn't even talk to people down there in reasonable because they didn't represent them. They represented Lutuli House, and that's a big problem. So that resonates very well with me, and I think with a lot of people when you talk about serving the people. That's what it's about. Once you're elected, you may still be a member of a political party, and you still got responsibilities to that party, but your decisions are not based on what your party wants, which is what DC is all about, and that's what Cape Town's parliament's all about. It's supposed to be about what is in the best interest of your constituents, and depending on your level of government, the broader nation as a whole. So I think it's a good point. Brad, I'll get to your super chat in a minute, but two things very quickly, Michael. Let's shift gears a little bit, but let me remind people, smash the like button if you don't mind. It costs absolutely nothing. It's right there, and if you don't like it, you can push the dislike button too. Whatever, but hit that like button. And if you're not a subscriber to Chris Wyatt Africa, why don't you become one? Next thing is, okay, so we're going to have to, two things I want to shift here on Michael to talk about. Number one is that you are very much a sportsman, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to take the moment here, the opportunity, because you mentioned your daughter in a conversation about marriage. And then because you moved the camera forward, we caught the edge of your kitchen there, and your daughter photobombed walking through, or video bombed. She passed through and we saw her. So some people know your backstory. Before we talk about athletics, which I think is a great thing to talk about, if you don't mind, you become a bit known in South Africa because an event that happened in your life and in your family, and it led to some real pain for your family. If we could talk a little bit about that, you can kind of tell us about it. Now, from what I understand, it's the following. Tell me what I got wrong, okay? I understand that you and your wife were married. You had 2 daughters. Your wife would periodically go back to Slovakia to visit, I guess, her parents, to go back and visit family back there. And then on one trip a few years back, it must have been in 2011 or somewhere like that, if I got the year right, she decided not to come back. For whatever reason, she decided to stay in Slovakia, and that, of course, caused great hardship as your family was now split with you and your eldest daughter in South Africa, your youngest daughter, who was just a small child, and your wife up there. At some point, apparently the differences were irreconcilable, I guess, because you got a divorce. But throughout this process, you tried to get your daughter back unsuccessfully. You got court judgments ordering the child to come back. But, of course, Slovakia doesn't recognize those judgments, and so nothing happened. And then tragically, your now ex-wife, I believe, had a brain tumor or something like that and passed away just a year after you were divorced in 2016. You then sought to have your daughter brought back to South Africa unsuccessfully. I guess, whatever I got wrong, please correct me. Her grandparents kept her there and wouldn't let her come back with her father, her natural father, a loving father, and be with her sister. That's even more painful, being separated from her sibling. That also happened to me at one stage in my life. People tried to pull that nonsense. So at some point, you decided this is just wrong. Again, this is what I'm saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. You decided this was wrong. You hired someone to go, which many parents do, who face difficulties with families. America and Norway has this issue. There are surprisingly hundreds of American children that are in Norway with their parents, with their mother normally, who refuses to bring them back to the United States for whatever reason. In a similar situation, you went up there, and these folks went with you and snatched your daughter and brought her back to South Africa. Did I get any of that story wrong? And I hope I didn't open up any wounds that you might not want to talk about.
You hit the nail on the button. My eldest daughter is from another lady. I was engaged to an English girl from Liverpool. We had Michaela. Her name is Michaela.
See, that's the problem, Michael. From Liverpool. That's where you went wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Liverpool! They're playing right now, and they're leading 1-0. I'm a Scouser fan. So I had a. We were talking about having a child out of wedlock.
Yes.
I had a child out of wedlock. I actually had an issue with that mum as well. I also fought to get visitational rights. I actually, with my attorney, I'm going to give him his name, Mr. Stuart Lopesher, we actually made South African law history, where I, as an unmarried father, could get unsupervised weekend visitational rights. It was the first one. Okay, there we go, that point away. Then I married Janka, my late wife. We were before she came to South Africa, we were pen pals for about 10 to 12 years. Her stepfather and my father were actually best friends in high school in Czechoslovakia. So that's where we met the family. And the reason for pen paling was that she wanted to improve her English. And so we would write once every 3-4 months. You know how snail mail goes. Then in 2005, my dad went up overseas. I think it was the anniversary of my grandfather's funeral. And in Slovakia, they're very, very, it's almost like routine. They clean the graves, they look after it, they fix it up. Twice a year, I believe. Halloween is one of them. They call it the Day of the Dead. So he went up and he went to visit them, and he found out that Janka wanted to go to England to au pair. Now, she just qualified as a mechanical engineer. And my dad looked at her and said, no, come to South Africa, son. England only sun 3-4 days. It's not nice, and their English is not like ours. And I must say, our English here in South Africa is still very much the old version, the proper the classic English, if I can call it.
I think that's the English will probably take exception when you say the proper. I mean, that's where the language comes from. But
oh, well, they already have taken exception because I'm a fan.
but I think the other thing here too is you touch on England, 3 days of sunshine per year. Yeah, it's in the wintertime when it gets sun.
Yeah, in the wintertime. So then she came to South Africa, and it was almost like love at first sight. We got married in 2006, and then we had Mia in 2007. And in those times, I would send, whether it was before Mia was born, Janka would go visit her family once a year, always keep contact with them, whether it was a white Christmas over December or over the summer break in August, every year. And then when Mia was born, I think Mia was already 2 years old. She was already flying overseas. So she was already a plain baby, very, very long time. In 2010, my late wife was suffering from headaches, and we couldn't understand what was going on with her. She sometimes felt funnily ill. We didn't know what that. So we then started taking her to the doctor, specialist. They did MRI scans on her and everything. And then we found out she had a brain tumor. But it was benign, so it wasn't cancerous, okay? She had a 10-hour operation in Greenacres Hospital. It was a very successful operation. I think the tumor was about 14 millimeters big. They shrunk it down. They couldn't get rid of all the tumor because a lot of it was stuck to the brain. So as the surgeon told me, if they had to suck it and a little bit of brain would come off, she would have been autistic or, brain damaged or anything like that. So that happened. So then she worked like half days because she worked in our factory. We needed an engineer. She ran my quality department. 2012, and I didn't see the warning signals. You're madly in love. I even fought against my father for her because they had sometimes issues, because my dad sometimes doesn't think, he thinks he's a boss, and whether you are sick or not, you must work. So they had issues in that. So she told me she wants to go on holiday for 2 months. Now, people around me were telling me, hey, Michael, there's something wrong with that. But I didn't. I said, no, she needs a rest. She needs help with the baby too when she's there. And I sent them in November, and they were supposed to come back January to have a white Christmas, let the grandparents look after me and everything. January came, she phones me, we're not coming back. I was like, whoa, why? She got a job there, and she's on a 3-month probation. After the 3-month probation, she will become permanent. Then she can transfer back to South Africa, because it was Johnson Control. And we've got a Johnson Control just outside PE, Perseverance. So she could get that. And I said, okay, stupidly but hesitantly, I said, okay, no problem. I'll change the air tickets. It cost me that time in 2013, it was 4,000 Rand each. I had to put in extra to change the date of return and that. So a few months go by. We had sometimes a couple of heated conversations on Skype because I was starting to miss them. I was living in a big house all by myself. That time, Michaela was still living with her mom. And just after all this nonsense started happening, Michaela actually ran away from her mom and decided to live with me. And since then, she's been living with me. And I then put an attorney in Slovakia on standby. But what my luck was, the attorney's wife is a clerk in the courts. And one evening she came back from work and said to the attorney, what is your client in South Africa's surname? Because she saw a file for sole custody in Slovakia for my daughter. And he informed me, and I said, nope, fight it immediately. I'm not giving no permission. This is the first thing I ever hear of this. They're supposed to be coming back. Please fight it. And funny enough, I think it was in March 2013, May, January, February, March, April, somewhere around there. I haven't got the dates perfectly. There was a case for sole custody, which we fought and won. The judgment was Slovakia does not have the jurisdiction to rule on guardianship and custodianship of Mia because her habitual residence is South Africa. Janka did not appeal that, so it became a court order, which is very important later on. This case and another case are very important after the kidnapping. Then, still I don't know how to say it, still madly in love. During Skype conversations after that, she would tell me, no, her brother's getting married. They like to stay for the wedding. Mia's going to be a flower girl. Using that little aspect, Mia wants to be a flower girl. Please don't spoil it to that. So then I made a date. I think it was the 17th or 16th of June, 2013. I said, that's when you're coming back after the wedding. I even bought tickets. I still remember a week later, after that date, they were supposed to return. I bought tickets to go see Disney on Ice in Cape Town. 4 tickets. For myself, Michaela, for my late wife, and for Mia. 16th of June, even though she told me she's not coming, Michaela and I still went to the airport. Just in case that she was maybe pulling a joke or, They never arrived. We drove home, and I tell you, you haven't seen a man like this cry with his daughter. We went from the airport right down to our apartment, crying nonstop. And that's when I gave the order, the first time order. So I know that there is a group of ladies in PE that were big friends of Bianca and were contacting that side family. I got a lot of lies and nonsense from there. I've got everything. I've got the court documents. That's the only, when they did not return then, I then started a Hague Convention application, abduction under false pretenses. Okay, Slovakia is part of the Hague Convention. They've signed the treaty. October was our first case, which I won. Now, the problem with the Slovakian courts when it came to Hague Convention cases, and they're very different to South Africa. South Africa handles it very differently. We actually handle it more the way the international courts do. In the Hague Convention cases, whoever the defendant is has uncountable chances of appealing. If I lose the case, it's over. So if I did the Hague Convention case and the court said, nope, the child can stay with her mother in Slovakia, she doesn't need to come back to South Africa, that's it. It would have been the end. They give you the ruling, and then she has 15 days to appeal. And, some of the games she played, that first court case, she waited on the 15th day to fire her attorney and hire a new one, which then gave her another
extension. Gave her extension, yep.
You understand? So
she laid the game plan out for Jacob Zuma before Jacob Zuma used it.
Oh, no. I'm going to get shot for that. You understand? So there was a couple of Hague Convention cases that we did. We did about 7 or 8, and I won every one. And she just would appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal. 2014, I actually had an attempt to kidnap my daughter outside a little town called Luchenets in her school. We even saw the kids go to a library in a queue, but I didn't have the magistrate with me at that moment. We could take the child if we had the magistrate via the Hague Convention case. But the magistrate came late. By that time, Bianca caught wind of what's happening, and they ran, and we couldn't find them. So I had to, it didn't work. But we were still friends. I would send Mia every 3 months package because she liked droeworst, which is the biltong. For those that don't know what it is, it's dried meat in like a sausage type. She loves that. I would send her that. I'd send her clothes. I'd send her goodies. A lot of times she would ask for crayons for school and stuff like that. I would do that. I'd go there 2 to 3 times a year. Her birthday, I was always there. It's no chance in hell I will miss my daughter's birthday. So I was there every birthday. It costs money to fly up and down, Went there, 1 or 2 cases I had to appear as well. And then I would go there on holiday just to see her and take her around Slovakia, see some of the sites and that. And of course, the mother would go with us because she didn't trust me. She thought I would take her because I had the Hague Convention permission to do it.
Well, and you'd also already tried to grab her, so that's
exactly,
fair enough. Fair enough.
I was well within my right.
No disputing there. But eventually, the two of you got divorced. But from the way I hear you speak about your ex-wife, who's now deceased, unfortunately, it doesn't sound like there's any animosity, or maybe I'm missing it between the two of you. I mean, or at least you don't hold animosity towards her. And I see photographs of her still a part of your family, at least in spirit. That's the impression I have. Am I right about that?
exactly. No matter what she's done wrong to me or to the family, she's still a mother.
Yep.
And she loved Mia to bits. Now, if she didn't love Mia, she wouldn't have fought for her. So I take my hat off to her that, she looked after her. She took her to the school, some of the best schools in Slovakia. She took her to choir, took her for singing lessons, ballet. So she was still an active part in her life. And to this day, I still miss her. If we had to show you the bedroom where Mia sleeps, next to her is 2 massive photos of her mom, so I still do that. She's still a part of me. She gave me the gift of this beautiful young girl. And 2015 was when I decided I needed a divorce because I wasn't even going out. I wasn't dating. I actually became almost like a rotten egg. So I decided I've got to start seeing the world as well myself. And that is the reason why I actually divorced. Hesitantly, I divorced. And it was actually a good thing I did it because this is the second case that helped me after the kidnapping. Because now remember, the court order in Slovakia says they don't have jurisdiction. It must be done in a South African court of law. When I went for a divorce, the magistrate got wind of the Hague Convention cases. So he then asked for those documentation when I was doing the divorce case because he wanted to know what's going on. And after about a couple of postponements, it was about 2 weeks, this court cases, when it came to the verdict or the judgment, I was awarded the divorce and I was given sole custody. So that helped me. Yes, they're complaining on the other side. How can you do it without her being there? And I said, well, we are in a modern time now. There is Skype, there's Zoom. I don't think Zoom was that time, but Skype was that time. And they said they never knew about the divorce, but the South African court system, a lot of people might say it's poor, but there are certain things that still work like a bomb. Their emailing system. So if they email you and you open up your email, they've got, it prints back to them. Yep. What time, who opened the email. So it was sent to my mother-in-law. It was sent to Janka. It was sent to her fired attorney and her current attorney. It was sent to her brother and her sister-in-law. They all denied getting it, but we had a whole list of when they opened it up. So yeah. Besides that point, at the end of 2015, I could see a change in Janka when I went to visit Mia for her birthday. She started giving me Mia more leeway of me having Mia. What I mean is I had to always have a court order when I went overseas because there was a lot of times I would say, come fetch her at 10 o'clock. I would sit there at 10 o'clock. 1 o'clock would come and they still haven't come back. So I then started doing court orders for Skype. I had 3 times a week Skype with Mia during all this time. I then court ordered my visitational rights when I was overseas. But this time, the end of 2015, she just opened up everything. And she mentioned also something's not right. But in that moment, I still didn't know she had cancer. I still didn't even know she even had an operation in Slovakia, which gave her the cancer. Remember, in South Africa, it was benign. There it became cancerous, and it was level 4 brain cancer, which is, if I can say it in a nasty way, it's goodbye. Yeah. You've got a few months to live, and you're going to battle. Yeah. I didn't know she was sick. She fell sick in January. Mia tells me all these stories now. She was sent to Bratislava to one of their big hospitals there, and until she passed away, Mia never saw her a few times. But then was asked to lie. Now you tell me, Mia at that stage was 8 years old. She was taught to lie to me that her mom's gone shopping. Because I always ask, where's your mom? I'd like to talk to her. No, she's at dancing. She's shopping. She's helping a friend with work. She does. So I never knew that something was wrong, Then the dreaded day, the 22nd of April, 2016, my aunt from Slovakia phones my dad and tells her they suspect that Janka passed away, because in their suburb they've got an old church clock tower.
Sure.
And when someone passes away, it gets rung. It's like a little thing that they do. They notify the whole suburb. Everyone mourns. Everyone wears a black armband. Very close-knit community. And we then quickly phoned my attorney. My attorney found out. This is now before I even knew. I was out on the road doing work for my dad, going to see suppliers and customers. When I returned, I got told, Michael, come into my office. I need to tell you something. Close the door behind you. Janka passed away. Now I might be a bit selfish now. I had two emotions. The first emotion that hit me was the fact that she passed away. I was sad. Mm-hmm. I had a tear in my eye, and I was like, this was the woman I loved. We had a baby together, so it must have been love. It wasn't a mistake. We planned Mia. Mm-hmm. We wanted her, And my second emotion was
relief.
From the tears to a smile and happiness. I can get Mia now. Yeah. Now I can get her.
Now she'll come home. Now she'll come home.
Yeah, she can come home. Now that was on a Friday. Sunday I was already on a plane flying to Europe. To go to the funeral and everything. And funny enough, when I landed in Vienna, I got a phone call from Mia from her aunt's phone. Mm-hmm. Daddy, where are you? I said, no, I'm on my way. I'm coming to the funeral. And the next thing you hear on the phone, the aunt, why are you coming? You are not invited. You are not welcome. Excuse me? Put the phone down. But 15 minutes later, my dad phones me from South Africa. He's got an email from my attorney. Their attorney just wrote to them that I'm not allowed at the funeral. How can you do that? It's just, I don't know. Family values. Mm. And so my drive, I took slower. It's about a 3-hour drive from Vienna into Slovakia to the town called Banska Bystrica.
Yeah, I've driven through there.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
It's beautiful, beautiful. I must say, Slovakia is little Switzerland.
It is quite lovely. Yeah. The high Tatra mountains in the eastern part of the country, unbelievable. Beautiful.
High Tatras, small Tatras, the Fatras, beautiful. It's the Carpathian Mountains, Yep. And I drove slower so that I wouldn't go there while the funeral's done. Being on the run. So I went slowly. I didn't even go to the hotel to drop off my suitcases. I waited for the funeral to end. I went and paid my last respects to Janka, and then I went to the hotel. In that week, I was then offered a meeting with the family because it was really confusing. I couldn't understand, why can't I get my child? I'm a father. I'm the only living father. The courts were still undecided. Give it to Michael or keep her, it was very, very confusing. And still to this day, I don't know why. So then I was given a meeting to see Mia. Now, look at this. Listen to this. Mia was then put into the road. Grandfather behind her, grandmother next to her, uncle next to her, aunt in front of her. I couldn't touch her. Because they knew. With the Hague Convention case, once Mia's in my arms, they legally can do nothing. I can take her. So they stopped me from that. There was the first time in my life Mia spoke badly to me. She was told to say ugly things, to say, what you doing here? You're not wanted. You this and that and that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, that was hurt. And I knew that wasn't from her. And if you speak to her now, she told me she was taught to say that. Mm-hmm. It's funny. The next day, Mia phones me, can I have a phone? Can I do this, Dad, I love you. But the day before, what you're doing here, just to upset me, mm-hmm. to maybe get a reaction, because it's not like South Africa. We can smack each other and, then have a beer. No one does nothing. If I had to lose my temper and maybe hit the grandfather, you go to jail in Slovakia. It's assault. It's treated really badly there. And of course, being an immigrant from another country, they treat you even worse. Mm-hmm. Okay, bees may not. I then went back home. Then I was told, wait, we'll fight. That was now April. March went, May went. Beginning June, we get a phone call. Now, I used to do a lot of bodyguarding after my bouncing time in the early 1990s. I did bodyguarding, bodyguarded a few very high esteemed people, one in Saudi Arabia, England, and France. And I got a lot of friends through Slovakia with bodyguarding. And these were gentlemen that were reading what was going on with me, and they were also in contact with my attorney and said, they don't like what's happening, they want to help. Mm-hmm. So help in what way? We're going to start watching the house. Mm-hmm. We're going to start seeing the routine. You are going to kidnap her.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll do it. It's for my daughter. And it came, I actually went with my eldest daughter. I decided I'm going to take Michaela with me because I felt if we take Mia, she's probably been taught to fight us because I knew that I want to do something like it. I would be surrounded by these big bodyguards and security officials, close personal officers.
Little scary for Mia, so having her sister there probably would make it more easy.
8 years old. So sister being there, all right? So what happened was we got there, we had meetings with attorneys, with the guys, and it's almost like a Hollywood movie, I must tell you. Walkie-talkies, changing SIM cards. And
sounds like a Jason Bourne or a military operation.
Exactly. So the Monday came, we were supposed to snatch her on the Monday. We were phoned, while we were leaving the hotel, we already had our bags packed, we were ready. We were phoned, the routine has been changed, postponement, stop. Okay. So we had to rebook into the hotel, put our bags back out. We had a meeting again with the people that evening. Tuesday, the 26th of June, it happened. There was a vehicle in front of, well, not in front of the house, quite a distance. They didn't notice it, watching them on walkie-talkies. There was a vehicle where Mia's granny would drop her off and let her walk up the, it's quite a hilly, they've got stairs that go to the school. We had people there, and then I had two with me up by the school. Now, we had to change cars firstly because they must, the rental car was not involved. They gave me a dummy vehicle to go there. We had a convoy, and then everything started happening. We got the first message. They've left the house. Mia's about 5 to 6, 7 meters behind her. They've noticed there's an issue. I think they had an argument, and Mia did vouch for it. They had an argument. She says they would have an argument every second morning. She was actually, during the time that her mom was sick before her death, the grandmother used to hit her. And I only found this out. Actually, we had a little radio interview, I think on the Wednesday, and Mia divulged that on the radio interview, that she would go to school with red marks on her face and arms. And that shocked me a little bit because if I knew that, I would fly there and I would go berserk. Mm-hmm. No one touches my child. No one. I don't care who you are. No one touches them. Okay, besides the point now, let's go back to the story. There's just too much flying around in the head.
Yeah. So the day has come, and
yes.
She's at the school. You've got the bodyguards, people that you've known through association in the past who are willing to help you. You've gone to snatch her and grab her and bring her home. And did it go smoothly, or did any problems arise?
Well, the snatching went very smoothly. She did fight a little bit, but afterwards she did tell us that she was taught if there's a kidnapping or you're going to get snatched, hit this, that, do that, scream. No one helped. Michaela went out to snatch her, but she got a fright. I think she got a fright because the two bodyguards behind Michaela gave her a fright. Then I got out the car and went to grab her, and I said, "Come, it's me." She started calming down a little bit, kicked my glasses off, and, But once she was in the car and she realized, sister's on my right, dad's on my left.
It's okay.
It's perfect. All she wanted, how sweet is this girl? All she wanted to do was just get a chance to say goodbye to her friends and her teacher. Oh. And I just said, we can't do that. We just can't do that. Because in Slovakia, when a child is been snatched or kidnapped and has been notified to the authorities, the borders close within 45 minutes.
Wow.
You can't get out.
Wow.
So we had a time limit. We had to switch cars, go back to my original rental car so they don't recognize anything, and move. We moved with a convoy, 2 in front, 2 in the back, go. We made it with about 5-10 minutes to spare. And then another good thing that I did was that my attorney with one of the bodyguards, about an hour after the snatching, would then go to the school to inform the principal not to worry, the child is with her father, which is another good thing in the Constitutional Court later. All right. We went through Hungary. We had an appointment in Vienna with the South African Embassy. I was working with the Chief Justice in South Africa, Chief Justice Patuna Siabi, a beautiful African lady that helped us. We still contact with her. We send her Christmas greetings. She actually, this past Christmas, wanted photos of Mia to put on her wall. She took it on her own and helped us out. She arranged because embassies close at a certain time. She arranged for the embassy to stay open for us, everything. The problem that we hit when we hit the embassy after about an hour was then a gentleman came back. First, a lady was helping us, which was a South African lady. You could hear from the accent. But then when the gentleman came, we could hear, this is not South African. It's somebody from Vienna working in the embassy. Sorry, we can't help you. Like, why? That morning, the grandmother was awarded temporary custody over Mia, stating they don't know the whereabouts of the father. Now, in Afrikaans we say, "You praat kak."
Yeah, you're talking crap.
Yeah. It's like there's a big Hague Convention case, 800 pages document. Why? But anyway, and that's where we started to run. Yep. I was on the Interpol red list for 2 weeks.
Wow. Was Jackie Salibe hot on your trail?
I don't think so. I think his hat was in the way.
Yeah. Oh no. He was in charge of I think you're thinking of Beckett Chile. That's the gangster in chief now. But
there was an Interpol chief in South Africa. But he was fired.
Yeah, it was Jackie Salibe, the guy who was
fired long before.
Convicted and died in prison where he belonged.
Now think about it. Devoted father with 33 other faces that were terrorists and serial killers.
Well, I suppose you're an elite company there, so you were on the Interpol Red List. Well, Interpol Red List.
Children away from me.
You need to put that on your CV.
I definitely won't get a job.
So you weren't getting help from the Austrian authorities, but you did manage to get back to South Africa safely with Mia.
Yes, well, it was a 4-week run around.
Are you serious? 4 weeks? You were 4 weeks on the lam.
Yes, I was 4 weeks on the run with Mia.
Wow.
4 weeks. In Austria, Czech Republic, Germany, and Switzerland. We stayed in attics. We stayed in...
Wow.
Internet's unstable. We stayed in attics. We had a lot of families that were very nice that let us stay in bed and breakfasts and looked after us.
Unbelievable.
My dad's got a very, very good, high up official in the politics in the Czech Republic. And he was our coordinator. He helped us out with switching phones, with taking us there. There were times that we had to actually run into a van and hide under chairs, while we were traveling in that. Into mountains. Like I said, we stayed in attics. We stayed in... we even slept once on hay,
Today, is it even safe for you to leave South Africa anymore? I mean, is that rescinded?
Oh, yes. Okay. You see, what happened... I had then big attorneys. The Czech Republic, I had a firm in Czech Republic who actually were gunning for Kliment here in South Africa. My attorneys in Slovakia, of course, my attorneys in South Africa, plus the Chief Justice on my side. The ruling on the 26th of July, when I became no more a felon,
a fugitive.
Was
a fugitive. You weren't a felon. You were a fugitive, not a felon. Felons are convicted of crimes. You were just a fugitive.
Well, in many people's hearts, I was a felon already. That side.
Probably in the grandparents' eyes.
Yes. They dropped all charges, and that's where the 2 cases came.
Okay.
The fact that the court order, custodian battles can only be handled in South Africa. Mm-hmm. I've got custody in South Africa, and I let the school know what's going on with the child. Yep. All charges were dropped. I was well within my right as the only living parent to take my child.
Yep.
Charges dropped. We could go back home and that, but I still had one more issue. Of course, okay, we had to then go to Interpol. They asked her a few questions. They dropped the charges as well, everything in Prague. Then I went to the embassy, South African embassy in Prague, to get a temporary passport. Okay, I don't know how to say this, but I still had to prove myself with fingerprints that I'm South African.
Yeah, but now in your case, you were born in South Africa, weren't you? You weren't born in the Czech Republic. Okay, yeah. So
I'm a dual citizen. I've got dual passport. I've got the EU passport and a South African passport. Yeah. We use the EU passport mainly for traveling and saving on visa costs.
That's why most people use the Schengen passport. Convenience.
Yeah, and you can go anywhere in the world. I think in America I just do an online booking and I can go in.
When I was in Transylvania traveling around to Siebenburg, the German settlements, doing research on a holiday research trip back in 1998, we ran into a German who is from Brazil. He's not German. He's got a Hispanic name and or Portuguese name, and he speaks Portuguese, and he grew up there. And his German great-grandfather settled in Brazil from Germany 100 years ago. And on the right of return, which used to be the German law, any drop of German blood, you can get German citizenship. Realizing that every time he went somewhere as a Brazilian, they wanted a body cavity search or they would deny him a visa, he applied for a German passport. And so he was traveling through the Balkans on a German passport, and he was a Portuguese guy. Yeah, so he was smart enough to realize that back in the 90s that, if I don't want to be harassed and I just want to be able to travel freely, let me get a German passport. So same sort of thing applies in your case. Exactly. So now a quick question here. Michaela, did she return back to South Africa, or was she on the land with you guys?
Oh, yes. She was with us on the run for 1 week.
Okay.
When we found out no one knew she was even with me,
then you sent her home.
And, we quickly got her. My dad's friend, the politician, quickly got her on a plane back to South Africa.
Okay.
And luckily, because no one knew she was even with us. No one knew she was even involved. Nothing. They were after me, and they wanted me back. I was on TV in Austria, in the Czech Republic, in Slovakia. I was in the newspapers. I was online. But yeah, like I said, well within my rights to do what I had to do. It was a scary time. I lost a lot of weight. I had dark rings around my eyes, but we had a few contingency plans in place. Funny enough, I got contacted by a lot of men that were having same problems with Slovakian women.
Well, not just Slovakia. It's a problem the world over. Japan, Korea, Norway, lots of countries.
Slovakia had been warned 3 times by the Human Rights Commission of the European Union for doing this. And I heard now lately they're not part of the Hague Convention anymore. So, you see? So we had a lot of contingency plans. We actually even had a plan, if I couldn't get out, that I would somehow let Mia. There was a lady that had a daughter that looked very much like Mia. She was prepared to use her daughter's passport to take Mia with her to South Africa as her daughter. But now, do you trust these people? You've never met them before. You still got that in the back of your mind. Are they going to take it to
also, quite frankly, I mean, you probably don't want to involve other people in something that could result in criminal charges. I mean, that's probably in the back of your mind, too, if you're a moral person.
Exactly.
Because if that woman was legitimate and did that, she could be subject to criminal charges of kidnapping in her own right.
But they were willing. They wanted to help.
Sure.
And I, in the end, said no. Of course, they all do it for money. This lady was asking for 25,000 euros those days. 2016, But I was prepared to pay it. I wanted my daughter. But if that happened, and I got back, and the only way I could get back to South Africa was I had army friends in South Africa organizing in Ukraine. At that stage, there was an aircraft carrier. Not aircraft carrier. An army plane, that carries supplies and that. One of those big ones.
Transport plane, like an Antonov.
Yeah, exactly, yes. I was being organized to go on that. I would have to go through the Ukraine border, through the bush, over the border, and meet someone, and they would then take me to the airport or the strip. And that's the way I would get back to South Africa. But then I will never be able to leave South Africa. Can't go to Mauritius, can't go to Egypt, can't go to America, nothing. No holiday for me. So we did it the right way. We got it right. Yes, we can go back, but I'm not going to take the chance to take Mia back to Slovakia. Slovakia at this moment is run by a mafia group. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they got connections there. So they could do the same thing with me. Steal the child from me while I'm there.
And then you start it all over again.
I don't want to go through this again, and I don't want Mia to go through this again. She's happy. She's performing well. She's doing well in school. She's a hot goalkeeper in hockey, field hockey. She's very popular with her peers. She's very outspoken, beautiful young lady. And I think me in a woman form.
Well, I have to say this that I got a chance to meet her and chat her just before we went live. She seems like a lovely young lady, well adjusted, and people. Very quickly, let me just interrupt you for there, Michael, for just a second. You're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa on the Indaba Africa channel here, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network. My special featured guest is Michael Kliment, who is a South African whose parents are from the former Czechoslovakia, from the Slovakia. And we were talking about his candidacy for Ward 2. There she is. There she is. Welcome. How are you, Mia?
Good, and you?
I'm quite well, thanks. Your dad's just been telling us this story about everything that happened in the past and how you guys got back to South Africa. And I was telling my audience that you seem like a lovely young lady who's well adjusted and you're doing quite well. Look at that lovely smile. So are you well and you enjoying life back in South Africa? Are you excelling? Your older sister seemed to be excelling. I'm sure she just had her matrix recently. I'm sure she did better than 30 or 40% in her matrix, which a lot of people do to get in university. Look,
she was an A student.
There you go. So Mia, how is life in South Africa? Are you doing well?
Yeah, it's very nice. Like, I'm doing good in school and I'm doing absolutely well in hockey.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, but that's
the man of the match in the club hockey match on Friday.
But that's not real hockey. That's field hockey. It's not ice hockey. With Slovak origins, you should be an ice hockey player.
Oh, maybe in the future.
Well,
we do have ice hockey. It's a very small, and we're in the C League.
Look at her shaking her head. No, she's like, no, I'm sticking with field hockey. But your grandfather, I believe, played hockey and almost played for the national side of Slovakia.
Yeah, well, he was he played about 9 games for Czechoslovakia. His shin was broken in half during training, so he missed the Winter Olympics, and that was it. But like I said, he's very much. I don't know if you're going to see the cat behind us. There we go.
Everybody's getting in on the act. Look at this. We got video bombing now by the cat sitting up there.
They're beautiful. We love them. That's Mia's cat, actually. That's Oliver, and my cat is pooping. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Now you're embarrassing. You're
embarrassing.
embarrassing.
Yourself. How are you having fun here?
Well, I don't know. I'm having fun right now. We're having our exams coming up soon, and there's a camp coming as well. So, and Icebreaker Day. I can't wait for Icebreaker Day at school.
Icebreaker Day. What is that? When you meet new students or something like that?
Yes, actually, it's when new students that are coming next year to our school, we go into hostel for our high school and we sleep there for a night, and we go to different classes on the Friday. We go to different classes that the high schoolers have, so we get used to the high school.
Now, listen, your dad is a very touching story of love for his family and his efforts to get you back to South Africa. It's very touching, but I do take issue with your father and the following, just so you know this, Mia. If he's going to bring you back to South Africa, I would have thought he'd take you someplace lovely like Stellenbosch or Pretoria, but apparently he's brought you to the armpit of South Africa known as Nelson Mandela Bay.
I know. I was expecting like Joburg or Cape Town. Nope.
No, she just wants Starbucks in Port Elizabeth. That's what she wants.
Oh,
if you get a Starbucks in Port Elizabeth, she'll love it.
Well, there certainly was a Starbucks at Menlyn in Pretoria the last time I was there.
No, there is in Cape Town. We go for indoor hockey with her nationals. But yeah, she would like a Starbucks. Chat. I also want to show something.
But seriously, Mia, all kidding aside, no, your dad certainly went to a lot of effort to get you back. Let me ask you this question, Mia. I think you're like 14 or something like that now, around that age. Is that correct? Okay. So I assume you understand and speak Slovak still to this day, yes?
Yes, I do speak Slovak. It's
Okay.
just a bit difficult.
It's a bit
'cause
rusty. Yeah. And so Slovak, obviously you speak English. Do you speak Afrikaans or any other languages?
Oh, no. No. I hate Afrikaans.
Oh, shame. Oh, look at that Starbucks. There you go.
Nespresso.
I'm actually learning Japanese now.
Are you seriously learning Japanese? Tomo arigato.
Oh, gozaimasu.
Well, that's excellent. Listen, I wish I'd had the opportunity at your age, Mia, to learn languages. I didn't start learning languages until after I left for university, and then after I went to Germany as a young man in the Army. And today I speak 6 languages to varying degrees of fluency.
Wow.
Yeah, and a few others I don't even count that I can get by in. But language is pretty awesome. And this is why it's interesting, Mia. Let me share this with you and so you're familiar with this. Languages, you may have realized, you have to think differently in other languages. And so you learn to appreciate thinking in a different fashion and learning how to look at things in a different view. And so then I'll tell you why that was important for me. When I learned German, I learned that in German, the Germans, if they want to insult you, they didn't use the F-bomb and words like that we use in English, but they would actually call you, nasty words like calling you a donkey and things like that, which is a very high insult in German. And so I understand that they form their language very differently. So, but the Slovak is a little rusty. Maybe you can speak to your granddad. I'm sure he still got it pretty fluently occasionally to keep your Slovak up. But keep those languages up. They're really important. It makes a difference and it opens up your worldview. But field hockey, it's okay. I suppose if you can't play ice hockey, that's a good second place.
No, I'm pretty sure it's first place, especially because I'm quite short and tiny, and I play as goalkeeper. So I'm fine. And ice hockey, I don't need to break anyone's jaw.
Let's not talk about breaking. This girl, as a goalkeeper, her first nationals that she went to indoor hockey, she actually broke a girl's arm because a girl tried to run through her and she stood her ground. Yes, she says she's small, but she's a national champion already.
Really?
They won the nationals last year. And out of the 9 games, she had how many goals against you? 3. 1, 2, 3 goals in the whole tournament scored against her.
That's pretty incredible.
The next goalkeeper was 24. So, yeah.
Wow.
She's hot.
She sounds like Marc-Andre Fleury, the Vezina Trophy winner from the Vegas Golden Knights. It was also pretty amazing.
Don't let these beautiful looks deter you.
I'm gonna have
solid.
Michael. I'm gonna have to say, when she was off camera, you did make a comment, and you're kind of. I think this is just of you're like pointing to your face, going, looking. I have a beautiful daughter, but clearly it's not from this. It's obviously from her mom's side.
Yeah, she's got my smile.
She does have. Oh, she doesn't think so.
People tell me if I shave my head, I'm gonna look like him. No offense, I don't want to. He's not a good-looking man.
Well, listen, I tell you, Michael, your daughter's very reserved and doesn't share opinions freely. Not. No,
that's not what her mom said.
No, she shares them quite freely.
You hear that? Her mom had bad taste.
Oh, shame. Oh, that's just that. I'll tell you, it's rough. And despite all of this, the man obviously loves his daughter and went to great lengths to bring her home to face this abuse. But seriously, but you're both athletes. Michael, you're also quite the karate gentleman, aren't you? You've got some world titles or titles of your own in your own right. Yes.
Yeah. I love my karate. I'm still doing it now. I've been doing it since the age of 6. So it's 43 years. I'm a 7th Dan black belt already. I'm the 96 and 2000 JKA World Karate Champion.
Congrats.
Behind me, that medal right there, that's the 2008 Commonwealth Games gold medal. I retired after that. I've coached the national karate team.
It's always good to go out on top.
Of course, undefeated, Wow. That's what Nico Rosberg did with Lewis Hamilton. He won the World Championship, F1 World Championship, and retired.
Wow.
No one can beat you, I coach hockey. I coach soccer. I've even coached varsity sevens rugby as well. Like I said, I was even a chairman of a hockey club. I'm chairman of the body corporate of the complex we live in as well. I love sport.
Well, it
I
sounds
find
like
sport is an absolute. For me, it is the how can I say? There's so much stress in life. Sport is my way of relaxing and enjoying. Escaping, yeah. And with me coaching, I love seeing the smile on the kids' faces when they achieve. Whether it's karate, they get a bronze medal, and you see that kid on the podium like this. It's just heartwarming, and you've done the right thing. In my karate club, I've produced about 55 world champions. So I've given back, and that's with my political aspirations. I think my past record speaks for itself. My opponent says he doesn't talk the talk, he walks the walk. But I think I've walked many walks before that. I've walked many, many walks in my life, and I've been very successful with each walk.
Well, I'll have to say this one. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mia. What'd you say?
Well, wait till you see him play hockey. He says he's good at sports, but when he starts playing hockey, the man, when he doesn't get the ball, it's rage. It's rage.
It's rage. That's funny. No, speaking of rage, I was going to say if Mia's busy breaking opponents' bones coming in trying to score, she might want to put her into rugby. Get her out on the pitch there.
I play girls rugby, or we are starting a rugby.
I like her ears to stay this way.
You just wear a scrum hat. That's all. You wear a hat, she'll be fine.
I do play a scrum.
Okay.
We're starting like a rugby team for the girls in Woodridge. So
it's the first I hear of this. It's not happening.
I've already told you about this. I told you about this term 1 already.
It's not happening.
Can I go back to playing?
You can go back.
And she's out here. Okay, well, let's take that as an opportunity. I was just going to suggest that we let Mia go and thank her for her time. It was a pleasure having her on camera and sharing things with us. But I got a couple super chats, Michael. We've gone longer than I normally do, and you've been a great guest. You've had a long, busy day. You just came in from workout. But let me just address these super chats from Brett, who kindly put them earlier. Has been very patient, waiting for me to get to them, and I'll combine the two of them together. I'm just trying to find the first. Brett asked this some time ago. He said, "What are the main did he do a third one?" Brett did a third super chat. I missed that. He said, "What will your guests do about crime in War II?" Let me answer that, and then you come back and correct it if it's wrong. Basically, what you want to do is be responsive to citizens. That's what I heard you say. Represent the citizens and the residents there, and also that you want to help improve. The sort of get people to take responsibility for family and for morality, and that will actually help with crime. I think that was the answer. And then Brett asked, "What are your main problems War II townships face?" You talked about service delivery, potholes, lights knocked down, things like that. We'll give you a chance to address that one too. And then I think he did a third one here I may have missed. Let me just double check here. If Brett, he had another one. He said, "Why is the ANC campaigning at PA at the moment?" Well, because they want to win, but they're delusional. They're delusional. Okay, so what are the main issues facing your ward, and how would you go about fixing them? And I think you've already answered, but let's just get a kind of a quick response to that. And why do you think the ANC is campaigning? I think it's because they actually think they can win in PA, but they're strolling past the cemetery, as we say in American English. They don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Well, there's a lot of problems in the ward too. We've picked it up. Lights, potholes, roads, leaks, cutting of grass, cleaning the beaches. Why must political parties have a campaign? We're going Saturday morning to clean a beach. That should be the municipality's job. It should be done all the time. Safety and security. Pushing the laws. We've got zero tolerance on alcohol on the beachfronts, but the people are still drinking on the beachfronts. They're still breaking bottles so it's not safe to walk on the sand neither, because you can get cut. And that's besides the point of being accosted by a drunk person. There's drugs in it. Believe it or not, if I tell you this, you are going to fall off your chair. 3 or 4 weeks ago, my daughter at the Humewood skate park was given a little packet tester with marijuana in it and a small little acid block.
Wow.
Now, you tell me what is happening with that. Yes, I've spoken to the authorities. I've spoken to the neighborhood watch. They have done a sting. But why does it have to come from me? It's not safe to walk on the beach. When I was a teenager, and even in my 20s, you could go to the beachfront with your girlfriend and walk along and have a romantic time. You didn't have to worry, even if you were close to a bush. Now you can't even walk where there's lights. It's not safe. I walk around, I carry a gun probably 80% of my time. I've had 2 instances during work where they tried to attack me, because in those days we still had cash on hand and we had to bank it, and they would try and follow me. And luckily, with my knowledge of my previous security and like bouncing and bodyguarding, and with the karate awareness, I got out of it. Okay, but that's my story. There's poverty even in Ward 2. Have you seen how many vagrants are walking around Ward 2? It's getting more and more. More vagrants, more crime. It's a domino effect. So we've got to stop it somewhere. Whether we get the citizens involved, which at the moment the citizens are involved. I'm part of a neighborhood watch now. I joined this week because I want to also do something about it. Why must a neighborhood watch be watching your valuables or your life? It should be done by the people. We pay rates and taxes for a reason. Now, when Ethel Trollop was in charge, rates and taxes went up. Everyone was going, wow, no. But things were improving. And I understood. To get things done, it costs money. That's normal. That's life. But when nothing is being done and we're still paying these high, exuberant rates and taxes, then there's something wrong in the chain. Whether you are the DA, the ANC, or Patriotic Alliance, it doesn't matter. Yes, they're talking about we need a big political party to take over. I don't think so, because if you give that big political party the same carte blanche as we did ANC, they can also end up doing the same thing as the ANC, because they don't have someone behind them going, and that's what I want to do. I want to be that one, like a watchdog. What was the other questions?
Yeah, I got to go back now because I think you've kind of caught all of them there. Oh, the last one was why is the ANC campaigning PE? Well, I mean,
they're losing it. We actually got the president here. He was here. No, they're canvassing. They know they've got a sinking boat here, but they still believe that they can do it because the DA is making a lot of mistakes. You understand that the stuff that I have been highlighting, they are now trying to get on the bandwagon and use that against the DA. Now, I don't think people with the right mind that used to be ANC now voting DA will actually go back to ANC. I believe the party I belong to is very diverse. It did start out, in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, the higher beings in my party, it did start out as a colored party, but it's diversified. They also don't, one of the most important things, and I heard it today in the motorcade, they said they don't like the fact that when you apply for anything, and it's even in this municipality that's run by the DA in charge. Now listen, those that are so DA, why must we state on our application what race you are? Are we not all South Africans? I was born here. I was an ANC Youth League member. My dad was a staunch ANC member in the early days. My dad is one of the officials that unified South African karate. The black side and the white side put it together, and the constitution they're using right now is the one they wrote in 1994. So we know what is there and what is not. I want the best for my kids. I'm doing this for the future of my children, your children, my friends' children, my enemies' children. It doesn't matter. There is no future for our kids in this country if it carries on this way. And I don't believe the DA has the chance to do that, especially with all the going-ons that is happening now. The fact that Musi Mamani was out. I know my leaders in my Patriotic Alliance are stating that it's actually the DA is run by the Oppenheimer family. Helen Zille is still pulling the strings, and that's not my fight. My fight is Ward 2 and my city. I'm not going national. I'm not going provincial. I want to clean up Ward 2, and I want to clean up my city. I want it to become back to its family values, what it was, to be comfortable to actually bring up children in this city, and to have your basic services working all the time.
Well, those don't sound like unreasonable expectations or goals, Michael. I think that's a sound approach to it. Listen, I want to thank you. I really appreciate being a guest on the program. We're coming up on 2 hours, so I'm going to give you a chance to get some rest there, and I'm going to get set up for my next broadcast later today. But ladies and gentlemen, my special feature guest today is none other than Michael Kliment, a candidate for Ward 2 councillor in Nelson Mandela Bay, running under the Patriotic Alliance banner. But as he's clearly pointed out, should he be chosen to be the ward councillor, he will be representing residents, not the Patriotic Alliance, because service above self is what comes first, and certainly service over party comes for all citizens and residents. And that's something that resonates with me quite clearly. During this program, we've had the good fortune to have Michael share with us his very moving and telling story about the difficulty after a disruption in his family life to retrieve his daughter from Slovakia. He was on the Interpol red list along with terrorists and others for several weeks as he tried to evade capture, bringing his daughter safely back to South Africa. We can see the horrible things that happened. She's such a reserved, quiet, frightened child. She's not all those things. She's a lovely young lady who is quite comfortable sharing her views and opinions and quite entertaining. But Michael, it's been a pleasure to have as my guest. And a little bit of your thunder in the stardom was stolen in this stream by Oliver, sitting up there perched above you on a chair. And of course, Mia, who was fantastic as she came on to share her experiences and what life is like. Very moving story. Was really essentially has been 2 programs. It's been a discussion about your candidacy for politics and your thoughts of what can happen here in Ward 2 in Nelson Mandela Bay. Then we shifted to talk about your life story a bit. And we also talked about sports, how important it is to you. And I'm kind of in agree with you. Sports is about esprit de corps. It's about teamwork. It's about working together. It's about achieving. It's not about being handed things. It's not about this person can participate, this person can't participate. It's about everybody gets together. We pick the best players. You're chosen on merit, and you get an opportunity to compete because life is a competition. So, Michael, yeah. I'll give you the chance to have any final words, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll put you in the waiting room after your final words, and then I'll wrap up the stream. So the floor is yours.
I just want to say it's been an absolute honor to speak with you, Colonel. To just give out what is coming from the heart, and to all the viewers out there, those that like me, those that don't, it's an old saying my father always said: for every friend you have 2 enemies. So you can't make everyone happy, but I just want to tell the people out there, give me the chance. Those that know me know I can do it. Those that don't know me, give me the chance. I will do it. I will make it. And I will crack the whip in our council. Let me tell you that. We're not going to be throwing jugs on people's heads or so like the ANC do in the council. But we are going to fight for what is right. And that is my motto. I will fight for what is right.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. That's very kind of you to share that. And I would say that in the Nelson Mandela Bay Council, perhaps having someone who's fit like yourself, still got those rock solid abs at your still youthful but approaching middle age, but having those rock solid abs, who is a karate world champion, might be useful in the Nelson Mandela Bay Council, where the likes of Andile Lungiza assault people with water jugs. So you can perform 2 functions on the council, representing Ward 2 and defending members of the council.
Safety and security in council.
There you go. There's the safety and security candidate for council. Michael Kliment, sir, thank you so much. Bye-bye, donkey. Thank you so much. And we'll stay in touch as we get close to the election and maybe see what updates are going on. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Kliment, I'm going to put you in the waiting room and then wrap up this stream. Thank you very much. And my thanks to Oliver, and special thanks to Mia.
God bless.
All right, cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Michael Kliment, candidate for Patriotic Alliance for Ward 2 in Nelson Mandela Bay. He is running for office against someone you might have heard of, Renaldo, and I'm sure a host of other candidates running for parties, but he's running under the Patriotic Alliance banner. And this, as I said, was really two programs in one. We talked about his candidacy, about his effort to run, his views, his thoughts on things. Some people were dismissive. Most people were quite complimentary. But that's how it works with political candidates. As Michael said, for every person that supports you, you've got one or two detractors against you. But congratulations to his effort to step forward and try to do something positive. And again, my special thanks to his lovely daughter, Mia, for coming on the program. That wasn't anticipated or expected, and she's quite a lovely young lady. Even though she has been convinced that field hockey is a real sport, not ice hockey. No, I'm just kidding. Field hockey is a real sport. Just like to have fun with that, folks. Anyway, thanks a lot to Michael and to his daughter and to Oliver, who showed up there at the end. Folks, whatever you do, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you do, if you're a registered voter, please go to the polls on November 1st in South Africa and vote. Kenako. SouthAfrica. Now is the time. Now is the time, more so than any point in the past 27 years, or for that argument, the past 40 years in South Africa. The fate in the future of South Africa rests in the hands of the 26 million people who are eligible to vote by having been registered for this election. 325 political parties are running, but only a handful have a chance of making a difference. But at each election, within a ward, smaller parties can play a role. Vote out the African National Congress. They have failed all South Africans, black, white, and brown. They have failed you, and they've done it. They've been cognizant of their failure. They know they failed you because they don't care about you. They only care about their nouveau riche friends and their cadres. Please make the right choice. Vote for an opposition party and not the economic freedom fighters. That's just the armed junior militant wing of the ANC. There you go, folks. Thanks a lot. Thank you once again to Michael, Mia, and to Oliver. And there you have, folks. All right. Thanks a lot. I'll be back on for Night Owls here in about an hour and a half on a Sunday stream. So please come back then. We'll talk about events and just have a kind of conversation about what's going on. My special thanks once again to my guest. This was from my perspective, a fascinating interview. Be sure to smash the like button, folks. Let's get some more likes up there on this. And feel free to leave a comment on the video after the stream if you'd like. Thank you so much. God bless and have a lovely, lovely day. And I'll catch you guys on Night Owls just a little bit down the road here in about an hour and a half from now. Cheers, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. As Big Daddy Liberty says, never trust a commie. As Chris Wyatt says, never trust a cadre. Cheers.